people of my age, when we get a good script, it's lovely to read a script that is exciting you. Otherwise, it's the same lines, it's the same thing. You do it, you do it for the money, you do it because a friend is directing, you do it for, it's very rare that you get these really good scripts. With Saira, I think I didn't get the same experience I got with Shizad, because when I was working in Dhoop Kinare, I was also dating my husband. And I was always in the rush to go there, do my work, and get away so I can spend time with him. So I think I didn't enjoy that process. But she also was a person who had the ability to get the best out of it. The thing that I'll never forget is that when we did the scene, I always get emotional on this because he was just such a beautiful human being. He never used to say, like, oh, brilliant, or, he was a very, he always was a very reserved person that way. And I used to always say, Shizad Saab kaise ho gaya, theek hai. That was the first time he came down and didn't say anything. He just looked at me and he went like that.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to yet another episode of Kingdom of Dreams podcast, The Making of Stories. I'm your host, Jawad Mir. Today, a little bit different, a part of the world where I am from originally, and something that I have grown up back in Pakistan, the television dramas that used to play, or as known as teleplays here. And one of the actresses from several of those plays that were very popular in the 80s and the 90s, Marina Khan. She played a pivotal role in the 80s and the 90s, at least for me. I'm sure she's doing some great stuff right now in some of the most incredible teleplays, dramas known as Tanhaiya, Dhoop, Kinare, Tumse Hi Kehna Tha, and a whole lot more. We talked about her career, how she got into acting, a very fascinating story, as well as all the stories behind the scene and the current state of teleplays in Pakistan. So without further ado, here's my conversation with actress, director Marina Khan. So I would love to start off with your career. What was the catalyst, that bug that got you into acting, that led to Rashid Minhaj and everything else throughout your career?
It's just one of those things that I'd never ever thought of acting. I didn't think, we grew up with television, obviously, because, we used to come home from school, especially I remember when cricket used to be on, all afternoon we could watch TV. Otherwise, I think at that time, I think 7 o'clock, or, sorry, that's my dog, 8 o'clock is, sorry, 7 or 6 o'clock is when TV used to start. But never thought of being on that side of the camera. So my friend Kekisha, who was in Dhoop Kinare with me, and she played my friend Anji, she had a love for singing and didn't realize that acting was. So she went for an audition for singing, and there was an old actress, I can't remember her name now. Gosh, it'll come to me. So she knew her, and through her she went there, and then she did this amazing play called Jungle, and then Asman Tak Diwari. This is Nurul Huda Shah, who wrote these very bold topics. And because Keksha used to go to the television station and all, it was like a big thing for us, because TV was. So I used to just go and visit her, and I was spotted by Shizad Khalil, who directed Rashid Minhas and Tanhaiya. His assistant, who at that time I think was doing something with Saira Kazmi. And she said that we're looking for a new face, and would you like to come? And I just looked at both Keksha and myself. He asked for both of us to come, and I was like, it's like, basically it's for her. I'll just go along. And he was the person he was just an amazing human being. He was just this person who, he was a small framed human being. And I remember walking into his office, and there was this massive desk, and there was Shizad Saab sitting behind the desk. spoke beautifully Urdu and English. His family was from Afghanistan. And I think he had the ability to even convince a stone to act, because I was like, never done it, don't know anything about it. My Urdu was really bad. I said, I don't know anything. Just the way he convinced me. And I said, fine, let me give it a shot. And he's saying, don't worry, there are not many dialogues, and you just keep doing what I asked you to do. Like he just gave me that confidence. So I went and I asked my mom. And my father is from, I won't say very conservative, but yeah, in one way, we are a conservative family from Tank. And that was my biggest issue, because I wanted to get his permission, because when we go to our hometown, we do parda and, all of that. And I think Daddy wasn't there and Mummy spoke to him on the phone or something like that. No, sorry, he was there. And I said, because it's an Air Force play, he said, okay, sort of a one-off thing. And that was it. It just started from there. And then next thing, Tanhaiya came along, and Shahzad Khalil fought for me, actually, because Hasina Appa at that point wanted to cast someone from Islamabad, I think. And he just said no, because while I think one was performing, you don't know, you just be, the moment the camera cuts, you just behave in a certain way, or if you make a mistake, you behave in a certain way. So he was noticing all of that, and that is what he incorporated in Tanhaiya and Sanya's character. So that's how it all started. I mean, it was, just, I was just very lucky, very, very lucky.
It's interesting you mentioned about Hasina, about making, saying that it should be somebody else. Was she also a producer, but as a writer?
No, she was a writer, yeah. Writers had a very big say in the way.
Really?
Yeah,
Really?
yeah. Right. You see, the thing is, the writer always comes with a wish list. Every writer, if you ask them, when they're writing something, they always have a cast in mind, or they always have someone in mind. And because she'd already done, Shanaz Sheikh had already done Ankahi.
Okay, yeah.
So Shanaz was the 100% there, and they needed the sister. And because my audition in front of her was, I'm thinking, horrid. It must have been, because I saw her face and she was like, what the hell is Shahzad thinking? And then later on, I realized and I found out that, she was very adamant that it should be someone else. But then I ended up doing 4 of her serials after that, So
Interesting.
yeah, so
That's really,
writers do have, they did have a say in it, or they used to at least have a wish list,
but
which
not
they
anymore though, right?
not anymore. I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do, but now it's a question of who you can get, and if you have a wish list, and usually the wish list is what the producer would also want, but you just can't get actors. I mean, everyone is just so chock-a-block with work these days. There's so much work going on that just getting that wish list. So at that time, whoever is available, because it all depends on when it has to go on air and
Sure,
all
sure.
this. Yeah.
Interesting. So we'll come back to dramas and everything else in a second. Had you not gone for that audition, where do you think your life, where were you visioning your life to be, or you had no idea where you were going to go?
At that time, I just didn't know. I knew I wanted to be independent. I knew I wanted to do a job. I was a terrible student. I was a hopeless student. But at one point, I remember I've loved animals, so that was something I really wanted to do. If I was intelligent enough, or if I had the brain, I would have loved to have become a vet, a veterinarian. That was something that I really, really like. If there was any thing that I really wanted to do, that was something. But I did also interview for flight attendants for British Airways. That is again something I was very, very interested in. Again, failed miserably because of maths. And I think also not giving the right answers in the interview. So these are the only 2 things. And otherwise, I did not know what my direction was going to be. I was very lucky. I got a very lovely job with an orthodontist, Dr. Shirin Bajwa. And it wasn't a 9 to 5 kind of a thing. She used to come to Karachi once a week. and I had basically 2 weeks of work. The week she was there, I was with her 7 to 7 or 7 to 9, and otherwise it was just phone calls and making appointments and making sure people came on time and stuff like that. That was my actual first paying job, and it was decent money for just 1 week's work, and that that just sort of gave me this feeling of wanting to be independent, of wanting to make my own money. And because otherwise parents were always there. But my father was an amazing guy. He wanted me to get married and wanted me to have a very conventional life, but he never forced me. And he always also pushed me into things, ye try kar lo, ye try kar lo, because I think he also realized that eventually to se shaadi hi karni hai, so but ye kar lo. So that independence, uske baad I was just like, this is something I wanted to do. Again, at that point there was no career, and even acting was never a career in the 80s. It was more of a hobby, because for women probably in one way, yes, but for the men, I think most of the guys who were acting all had jobs. And a lot of them used to come, either after 1 o'clock or after 3 o'clock, whenever, banks, travel agency, whatever, car showrooms, they all had jobs. So I think just that determination that I just wanted to be independent at some point, even though I never wanted to leave my parents, I never wanted to move away from them, but I wanted to be independent in that way, to have my own car, but never didn't think about it, and never looked back after that. Never looked back.
That's incredible. Thank you for sharing that. Um, you know, uh, my conversations are normally all over the place, so please,
That's
there's
okay.
no there's no continuity to it. So maybe it's me. So I watched, obviously growing up in Pakistan, lots of dramas because, like you said, there was the morning session which came, I think, in the late 80s with Musalsal
Yeah,
Sen Tare, but
yeah,
it used to start around 4:30 p.m. I used to watch my cartoon shows. I remember
yeah,
that, all the
yeah,
dramas. But and when we moved to Canada, probably we watched some dramas like Awazein, Tumse Na Kehna Tha, I think Anch.
mm,
But I just feel back then in the 70s, maybe even 60s, 80s, and 90s, the dramas were more widely about wide topics like social, political, relationship. I don't watch dramas right now, but I know people who do. And anytime I go in passing, it's always the same topics and same issues. Do you
yeah.
think is that accurate assessment that we have sort of drifted away from all that?
Well, I think for the longest time, when we came into, I think, the private sector, Star Plus had just opened up. We were getting access to Indian, these dramas. People became,
Yes.
and suddenly a viewership increased for that. So we started aping those, and we started mimicking those, with obviously our own stories and all. But Hum TV always, I think, kept its niche, and that's why it was also popular. So it would have the same themes, but Hum TV always kept a certain edge to their dramas. Um, Now, I think in the last, at least I would say in the last 2 years, and why I'm saying that is because I didn't watch dramas regularly, but now I do a show on 24 News, which is called Kya Drama Hai, and we review dramas.
Mm.
And because of that, we started, obviously, we had to review. And this is now the 8 o'clock slot. I'm not talking about the 7 or the
Sure.
9 o'clock. So the 8 o'clock slot. And I noticed ever since the Green Channel came on, and YouTube subscribers came on, or our channels went on to YouTube, the content has started changing now, very slowly, because now, I think there is a younger lot coming into it. There is a drama on right now called Parvarish. It is
I,
phenomenal. It is so good, and and we have Noman Ijaz, and we have Savera, and we have Arshad Mahmood, and we have Shamim Hilali, but it's the kids who are the highlight of the drama, and it's about them, and it's about families and and I think 5 years ago, maybe even 2 years ago, something like this may not have been. a possibility. Or if someone came with that idea, they probably would say, nah, ye to nahi chalega, ye nahi chalega, ye nahi chalega. And even now, I'm sure there must have been a struggle to get it on. And it's one of the highest rated, at least on YouTube for sure. It's being watched throughout the world. I mean, we've got these new stars. We've got so the thing is that this concept of just keeping it because rating is वजह से आती है. Up, I think now channels have started realizing that no, we have to mix it up a little bit. So now the story subject matters may have, most of them still will have this very typical kahani, and but they are taking chances, and Hum TV took a massive chance recently with this series that they did with these 3 plays based on mob elements, how people react to false news, how, brilliant 3 plays, which were Manjogi, I think, Nadan, and Tanman Nilone. Brilliant writing, brilliant performances. Again, and through these dramas alone, one also realizes the talent pool that we have. We've never just been able to show it off because we've been doing these mundane characters, you've seen them in one play, you've seen it, and then suddenly Green came with absolutely bizarre topics and different topics. And I think because of that also, the narrative is, I think slowly it has started changing. But yes, for the longest time, we were so badly stuck with the Saas Bahu.
And I think that's also, yeah, that's pretty much what I meant, the whole mother-in-law, daughter-in-law.
Yeah.
It's also very, very present in Hollywood as well, right? Now there's this whole trend of remakes or
Yeah.
sequels, like existing IPs and all that. And the chances element has kind of gone out the window, taking risks. But going back
Yes.
to the dramas, what in my view made, and this is not to take away from direction or acting
Yeah.
or anything else, any story begins obviously with a pen or a pencil, right? Writing. But the next one is characters. If you have strong characters, the story may not be that strong. Like to me, Tanhaiya's story wasn't that, out of the
Yeah.
box. It was very simple. But the
Yeah.
characters made like Kabacha and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So is that still, do you see that happening now? The
Very few.
characters?
Very few. I mean, I can name like maybe on my fingertips people writing. I mean, we do write characters, but like when you followed Kabacha's story, you knew his entire, like what he is, where he is, and you wanted to see what happens. So here, what we start is we start writing characters, but we just fade them out, and we just stick to the main 2 or 3 or 4 people, and we don't give our support characters backgrounds or stories, whereas our dramas are up to, I mean, I recently just directed a play called Dastak, which was technically 26 episodes, but we ended up with 43 episodes. Now if you are writing for 43 episodes, you must have sub stories and subplots, and because otherwise to sustain just, I mean, either you have to be a genius to sustain the just the plot of the main 2 leads.
Characters.
When while one is shooting, you can take a character somewhere because they are very developed characters, but very few writers. We have about 5 or 6 amazing writers now, but 5 or 6 is too little for the amount of volume of work that we have. Mustafa Afridi is a genius writer. He did Tanman Nilo Neel, he did Kabli Palau. I don't know whether you heard of that. Brilliant
No.
play. Sorry, that was Zafar Miraj. He did Zar Patton Ka Band. Zafar Miraj, old-time PTV writer, who again, thank God, started writing again, because Zafar Miraj just disappeared, and we knew the kind of stuff he used to write. And now, thank God, because plays that kind of writing is being appreciated by at least some, if not all the channels, but some of the channels. And now someone like Mustafa Afridi, I think he's probably booked for the next 2 years, 3 years. You can't get him to write a script for you because he just writes amazing stuff. I mean, those plays are the ones to watch. Zafar Miraj, him, and then recently this girl who wrote Parvarish, Kiran. Again, very very good stuff. So you know the वो जिसे कहते हैं ना झलकियां नजर आती हैं, लेकिन I hope it takes over. I hope other writers inspire to be get to that level of writing, or at
Yeah.
least be open to second drafts or third drafts. We work on the first draft technically. That is our biggest problem.
Yeah, I mean, writing, you need like dozens, if not several dozens of drafts before it gets like really,
Yeah.
really, polished and everything. And even at that point, it's not certainly perfect. You talked about the drama that
Yeah.
you just directed. Can you tell me more about that? Like, what is it about and when is it coming out? If anything you're willing to share.
Uh, well, Dastak was it was basically it's about a divorced woman, and what happens, and the not consequences so much, but a lot of the, how society sees a divorced woman. But it wasn't too much on that part alone. That part of it was very much incorporated in the story. But it starts with her getting married to this man, and him being in love with someone else, doesn't treat her well, and then she has a kid, and he says that I have to go once his father dies, and that he's freer to make his own decisions. He decides to leave her, and they've just had a baby, and the other woman is not willing to. Obviously, she's not going to get into a relationship with the child, so he signs off the child to her, and then of course all the things that happen in between, and then she finds a really nice guy, but then this man comes back into her life, and now because he can't have kids, he wants his child back. So it's basically about that.
Mm.
But I think the highlight for me in Dastak was my main lead, Sohaili Abushi. I I'd never worked with her. I have worked with her before, but in a very in a sort of a short film as an actor. But she was just brilliant. She was brilliant. It was just such a joy working with this girl, and she was the main. It was all about the the character's name was Kiran.
Mm.
So it was an interesting thing, and she was very invested in it, and there was a lot of discussion that we used to have, and in that way it was very nice. The only thing is the project went a little out of control because we were put on air suddenly, and then it was basically just micromanaging and firefighting. That was a little disappointing, but otherwise it went off well. I got lucky. I got lucky again. I had amazing actors to work with.
Amazing. Not to count years, but let's talk about, obviously you have a long career, very, very fruitful career. Um, and I'm sure, I mean, we all have these moments where, where maybe we're sitting in solitude and we think about how we got to where we are today. And do you sort of reflect back and enjoy those times of the 80s and the 90s, even the early 2000s, just to see your path of coming in all these, very, very monumentally, historically known world dramas and well-written dramas that kept audience, especially Hasina Muin dramas, kept audiences on the edge of their seats until the last episode. Like, what's going to happen with these two characters? You know how her dramas
Yeah.
ended, right? So yeah, so just do you sort of think about that, and what do you feel about that? Because it's your career has been amazing. Obviously, I have only followed it until the end of 90s, so I don't know much beyond that, but I'm just speaking in that realm.
The thing that I really miss and loved about that time was, I think the times were innocent, even though I don't know if Karachi has ever had innocent times, but somehow there was something about Karachi in those days that I don't know. Maybe it was just me, and because I had my car, I used to drive to work. I would come back from work, and I had that sense of freedom, and just working with like-minded people, working with friends, working with that I really miss, because now you don't really get a choice, and not every time. I mean, I've been lucky with all my directorial projects that I've had, a very happy green room, which I'm always happy about. I said, even if they don't like me, but the green room should be happy. And if the green room is happy, then, I know that my set it's a good set. But I really miss that. I miss the camaraderie of that time. I miss the closeness. I think also it was all very new to me. So I was very into it. I'm sure a lot of the actors must have felt कि अच्छा हाँ बस हो गया ना, meaning we've talked enough about it. But because I was new, I was sort of much more hungrier to be part of it. And but yes, I miss the innocence. I miss the PTV had a lovely structure. It had we worked in studios. We could never गर्मी का कभी पता नहीं चलता था because we had air conditioned studios. We had 3 cameras. We used to work. I mean, I don't even remember how many scenes we used to do in a day, but because it was just so much fun. It was just going to work was fun. Now going to work can be a little tedious because we work on sets, we work on locations. Locations sometimes are not very comfortable. There's the heat. There's so many factors that come into it. And because we worked with multiple cameras, we used to do a scene like it was like little theater pieces. The whole scene was shot in one go, so we had to know the entire scene. We had to know our lines from the beginning till the end. Now everyone comes, they don't know their scenes because that's how they've learned. A lot of the times, for some reason, I don't know why production companies are not willing to give out the script also. So actors are coming on set and they're learning their lines, and mashallah, they're very good with it.
Really?
Yeah. But they're very good. I mean, like, I know some people they'll come and they'll just look at the scene and that's okay, and they will give you a perfect performance. And I'm just thinking, oh my God, if it was all rehearsed and the whole thing was there, can you imagine what level we can get to? But that's what they've learned, and that's how they have come, to be a part of this fraternity. But I miss that. I miss the rehearsals. I miss the seriousness of the craft. I feel that we're not serious about the
I
crafts.
I was gonna say the same thing, that I feel that in those times it was more about the art
Yeah,
than necessarily about money, right?
that and your face. So I remember when we used to be on screen, we used to have what we called quarters. So I think we had 4 quarters in the year. Every 3 months. Yeah, every 3 months we
Yeah.
had a. And so if we were on, say, in the January quarter, we couldn't do the next one. We had to skip it. They were not allowed to cast the same actor for the next quarter. So, but now it's like you see the same faces,
Oh,
so there's no
right.
thought process that goes into it. It's just, चल रही है तो चलने दो. I feel that's the, okay, if we're getting the views, we don't care. And, sometimes like in our this show that we do, there's so many dramas we have to watch which can be very difficult to watch, but they get their views. So and I say that at the end, I said, who are we to say anything? I mean, just look at the numbers. But I feel that if we had developed institutes, and if we had developed a path when we came into the private sector, then we could have really gone. I mean, we're very lucky because our dramas are loved all over the world. I know that for a fact people watch it, but I just feel that I'm just thinking where we could have been if we had taken it step by step and the right way.
Yeah. And look, again, I don't know much about the last 25 years, but I know that, directors like Saira Kazmi, who
Yeah.
is probably one of the most talented directors. I don't even know if she still directs anymore. If she did, I would, watch her drama in a heartbeat. And Shoaib Mansoor, who's obviously not in dramas, but Khuda Ke Liye and all that. So there's a lot of that, and many more that I can't remember right now. That again, it goes back to the story, to the art. Like Nange Pao. I mean, what a
Mm.
phenomenal drama that was, right? It was just so well structured characters, and it was balanced in the way it ended and everything. So again, going back to the characters, because those characters are missing, and I genuinely believe, even in Hollywood, when there's no character, like movies like Jerry Maguire, which I'm sure
Yeah,
you have seen,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like all that stuff
Mm.
is not there anymore. You don't
Yeah,
see that
yeah,
stuff.
yeah. And it's also very it's I just find even the level of acting is sort of, that I mean, I love rom-coms, and we've had some amazing rom-coms in the past, but now you pick up one, you pick up another, and in 5 minutes you can't watch it.
And I think
After,
it goes to what you were saying earlier too, that before it used to be like every quarter, you had to take a
yeah,
break for a quarter,
yeah,
and now
yeah,
actors are coming on the set, they're getting scripts on spot. Yeah, a very veteran actor may pull that off, but
yeah.
others probably not because you're not really diving into the character, you're just reading lines.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah,
So the couple of plays that I mentioned, if you see those, you can see that the actor, like you can see the involvement of the team. You can see that here's a well-oiled team that is interested in not just the script, not just the thing. It's the characters, it's the actors, it's the director. It's, like you can see that everyone was so involved in these.
yeah.
And I think also when especially people of my age, when we get a good script, it's lovely to read a script that is exciting you. Otherwise it's the same lines, it's the same thing. You do it, you do it for the money, you do it because a friend is directing, you do it for, it's very rare that you get these really good scripts. Nadia Afghan recently said that. She's saying, I've been very, very lucky. She's been part of some really, really good scripts. And she's saying that's, she's saying just reading it alone was such a joy.
Mm.
उससे पहले आप, या एक नंद हैं या एक बहू हैं या एक, and those are very flat characters and they're very flat lines. And here is, something that you can show off your talent. We don't get that chance to show off the talent that we
Actually, there
have.
was a drama that came out, I think 3, 4 years ago. I saw it during COVID. I forget the name, but it was about three brothers and their wives who lived together. Kavi was in it. He was playing the dad. Um, do you know what
Oh,
I'm talking? It was
was
like,
it like Fun Fun?
yeah, it was very,
Prem Gali or something?
no, 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 no.
Oh, oh.
One of the brothers marries second time without letting the rest of the family knows. I forget the name, but it was one of the most hilarious dramas I've seen
Uh,
since
uh,
I moved to Canada.
uh,
I'll
uh,
find out the name, but I thought that was the only one
uh,
because it was character driven, extremely
yeah.
character driven.
Uh. Was
Um,
it something like for Ramzan or something?
no, 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 it was 13 episodes. Let me just see. I thought it was called Angan, but I could be
Uh,
wrong. Hold on. Let me just Google it. Um, yeah, it's called Angan.
Angan.
It's
Who's
actually
directed it? Qasim,
uh,
Qasim Muri?
yes, I
Yeah,
think
yeah, yeah.
so.
Okay, I know which
Yeah,
one. Yeah,
yeah,
it had big cast. Big
yeah. It was
cast. Yeah.
based on a novel by Khatija Mastour from
Yes.
1962.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That went very well. That was
yeah.
even here. It was a very popular one.
So I have a technical question. One of the things that I, I can't, I don't know why we don't change that in Pakistan. Maybe it has. Movie like Khuda Ke Liye, Bol, even Pakistani dramas, they're all dubbed, right, afterwards?
Yeah, yeah.
Why isn't there on location? I mean, it's not that difficult to do
Well,
on
have you
location
seen
sound.
Lal Kabutar?
No. Is that on
Okay.
location sound?
Yeah, that's. We don't have sound recorders. We have one, two, three,
But why not? It's not
and
that, I
they're
mean, we live in
expensive.
2025. It's not because it
I
really
think,
adds to the ambience of the story of the drama.
yeah. You must watch Lal Kabutar. That was
Okay,
a
I'll check
very
it
good
out.
film. Yeah. That was done by a gentleman by the name of Faiz, who is now my niece's husband, and they have recently. Well, my niece is Canadian, but they just got married, and He's just done his landing.
Mm.
So sound is one of the weakest aspect of our even our dramas, because we overprocess the sound. We used to have no ambience sound. We would have just loud music to cover up the faults of the,
Yeah.
So now, thank God, because of YouTube and certain places where I think now they want to expand their viewership, these things are starting to come into play. Like for the first time when I was doing Dastak, we used to get Foley done also at the same
Mm.
time, which never was, And I used to always say, why are you processing it so much that, I'm losing the door opening and I'm losing all of that. And they said कि वो हिस आती, पहले it was a हिस आती, मैंने कहा तो हर कंपनी की, it's a natural thing. I know that sometimes we have a lot of noise pollution in Karachi, right? So there's certain areas where even Faiz says that I would just tell you don't shoot here because it's just not feasible. Or if you have to, then you dub that scene. But Lal Kabutar was on location. That was done, and I think there was one other film. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's money. I think these kids are expensive, because and but at the end of the day, we've started, thank God, paying our DPs. There's certain areas where the money has improved a lot, and I feel sound is the next thing that needs to come. There's sound and production. These are the two
I
places
I
we can.
I I agree because to me personally, sound is the most important part of production.
It's a
I mean,
huge
not
part.
take right because it really audience don't know it consciously, but it really pulls you in. And I think even in India, the only film that was not dubbed was on location was Lagan. Same problem there. Like it's all majority of stuff is dubbed, and you can sometimes see it because the
Yeah,
expressions of the facial muscles are moving differently than what how you were recorded it, right?
yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. A lot of
But
people say,
yeah,
"Oh, we can improve in the dubbing," and not
no,
necessarily. Not necessarily.
no, you can't. Anything in post is not, that's the comment is we'll fix it in post. It's not something that
Yeah,
works all the time.
yeah, yeah.
I want to go back very briefly to your dramas, and I know it's been a long time. Do you remember any stories that you want to share from any of the dramas from like Dhoop Kinare, Tanhaiya, or Tumse Hi Kehna Tha that still stays with you that you sort of think about and it puts a smile on your face?
I think probably it was the first time that I ever cried in a drama was in Tanhaiya. And I remember Shanaz telling me, she's saying that if you have to cry, and if you won't cry, then I can't. And I'm like, I'm saying, I'm looking at her and I'm saying, what are you talking about? You're the experienced one here. You should give me 10. I said, how does one cry? So I remember Shazad Khalil coming down, because the control room used to be upstairs, and him coming down, he put all the lights off, and we just had the lights for the set on. And otherwise, he sent everyone out and just sat and talked to us, both of us, and sort of told us stories about how this person couldn't do it, and how he just sort of telling us stories about how different people process this feeling and all. And I'm just looking at him, and I'm looking at him. Then he says, think of something that really has moved you in the last couple of months. So I, with my friends, we had raised some money for Ethiopia, the famine in Ethiopia. And we got this massive poster, even though it was a fashion show, but we got this massive poster of this kid. And I always remember just looking at that child. It used to sort of move me a lot. So Shazad Saab said, "Okay, let's focus on that, and you just tell me. You just put your thumbs up, and I'll be rolling the camera, and we'll just get." And that's how it came about. And he just got it the first time round, because I just and the thing is, I think because one was so involved. I mean, like, but also when I think about it, we took time. to do these scenes. We, even though it comes and goes like that, but we took that time. He took that time out. He made sure that it comes naturally. And he told me also, he's saying, even if the tears don't come, I want to hear it in your voice. I want to hear the.
Yeah.
And then Shanaz came and she looked at me and I looked at her, and this is when she comes home late and I'm very
Mm.
upset, and she's missed my birthday. And I'll never forget that, because the thing that I'll never forget is that when we did the scene, I always get emotional on this, because he was just such a beautiful human being. He never used to say, like, oh, brilliant, or, he was a very, he always was a very reserved person that way. And I used to always say, Shehzad Saab kaise hui? Ho gaya, theek hai. That was the first time he came down. He didn't say anything. He just looked at me and he went like that. And I started howling after that also, because for me, it was such a moment of joy that, he actually expressed his feelings. He was a wonderful guy. He was an absolutely amazing person. We gone too soon. Gone too soon.
Yeah.
He should have stayed on. So that I always remember from one of my yeah. And I remember also there was another scene in Tanhaiya where I get the news that something about Zara, and this was much later in the episode, and I automatically started crying. And he came down and he says, "No, Marina, I don't want you to cry here." And then I had to go fix my makeup and everything, then come back and do the scene again. He was so sure about. And I think that's what also got me into direction, was just the way I used to watch him work, and how he used to work with us as actors. He was just amazing, amazing human being.
Wonderful. What was it like working with Saira Kazmi?
Saira was a totally different case. Saira was brilliant. Um, with Saira, I think I didn't get the same experience I got with Shehzad, because when I was working in Dhoop Kinare, I was also dating my husband. And
Mm.
I was always in the rush to go there, do my work, and get away so I can spend time with him. So I think I didn't enjoy that process. But she also was a person who had the ability to get the best out of you. I mean, like I said, I was extremely lucky, extremely lucky. I remember the one that the play that I saw a little later on was a play called Najat, which she had
Mm.
done. Sajid Hassan, myself, Atika Odo, and Numan Ijaz were the main leads for that. And that, to me, for me, it was a masterpiece. That play was. It was brilliant. And even Dhoop Kinare, I think I saw like 5 years later or something, and I just didn't realize how brilliant it was. Because when you're in the process, it's a
Yeah.
totally different ball game. It's um, but when I saw it put together as a whole, it was brilliant. But Nijat was just amazing, amazing. Again, oof, the characters in that. There were so many. I think Sayyid Nadeem, what was his name? Asghar
Say,
Nadeem.
I know exact. Askar
Huh,
Nadeem Sayyid. Yeah, I
Sayyid,
remember
yeah.
that name. Yeah,
Brilliant.
yeah, yeah. Amazing. I mean, it's been, yeah. I mean, if I could watch those dramas again and again, like, it's just one of those things. I don't know if it's because you grew up with them or because it's a combination of that, plus they were really good dramas. And even one thing, like, if you look at Tanhaiya, right? Like, you look at the wardrobe of yourself and
Yeah.
Shinashe, and you compare, again, I'm not criticizing anybody in particular, but you compare the wardrobe of people in their homes in the dramas today and how they're
Yeah.
all well put
Dressed up.
together.
Yeah.
I mean, who does that, right? Like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
that's not natural. I know they're
Yeah.
trying to get like viewership and everything, but it
Uh,
doesn't connect with an audience. And Tanhaya and Ankahi and all those dramas, like everybody just dressed
yeah.
simply, like shalwar kameez and that's it.
Yeah, because so there's another thing that I also realized, was, when you read these scripts, I think a lot of the scripts are written for middle and lower middle class families. A
Mm,
lot of the scripts. And what we do is that we elevate it to an upper class or an elitist family and make the lower middle class family a middle class family. And then what happens is the language doesn't change. So a lot of the times you disconnect with the characters because they're not speaking the language of their environment. And I wish they would keep it to what it is. And I'm sure the plays would do much better if
I
you
agree
just
with you.
kept it. Because a lot of the things that are said also, or a lot of the restrictions that are said and all, when you come to a middle class family also, it's not there. In a lower middle class and maybe a lower middle class family, yes, those restrictions and those taboos and all work. But in a middle class family now, not so much. Yes, there would be a sort of a 50-50 thing. And then in an upper class family, yes, it would be a 70-40 kind of a ratio. But I think that is also where we went wrong slightly. We just wanted to show the glamour and the glitz and and by that you are actually spoiling the story.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people said, because a lot of the language that you speak is not the language of a para likha person who has grown up in a educated family. You would not use certain words. You would not use there's certain things that you would say it in a little more refined manner. And when you read that character in the way it's written and you think of the character, then it's fine. But the moment you bring it, that character sort of becomes strange.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
you can't
You
relate
can't
to.
connect to it. You can't connect to the
So
character.
that is also, I feel, a mistake. That
Amazing.
yeah.
Well, just to sort of wrap it up, what's something that you want to do in the next 5 years, that you may not have done or that you have been itching to do for a while?
Well, before I die, at least,
That's
I
not what
would
I
love
meant.
to direct a film.
Yeah,
No, but
that's awesome.
it's a fact. It's a fact. That's because of the way, these two films that just came out, Love Guru and uh, to like to direct a film. That would be one thing. But otherwise, yeah, just enjoy life these days. I'm going to be directing something next year. If interesting project comes in between, I'm just hoping that our narrative gets better. That's something that, and in a film you can dictate that. That's something
Well,
that
that's good.
keeping fingers crossed.
For sure. Well, I hope you get to do that sooner than later, and because we have a lot. I mean, you look at, for example, Coke Studio, right? The amount of immense talent that has sort of come out of that. There is a lot of raw talent, and what's worked with Coke Studio is because they went to these remote places and pulled talent out of there. And that's what
Mm,
I think needs to be done in
yeah,
dramas, not in terms of talent, but also storytelling. Like we need to go to these places and
yeah.
tell their stories, because you'd be
There
surprised
are
how many
so many
people relate
stories.
to it. Yeah,
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah. So if you just watch Manjogi and you watch these three plays, I would urge you to watch
Sure.
Manjogi, Tanman Niloni,
And
and
Parvish?
if you just watch those, Parvarish, yeah, that's very, very good.
Yeah,
Those are just, like they're simple stories, but there's so much depth in just that alone. I mean, Manjog, and the beauty about Manjogi and the series that Sultana Siddiqui did was that also sort of hinting in a very intelligent way as to how we get driven by a mob element, which is usually enticed by a religious sentiment, and how intelligently it was written. And because otherwise, when one talks about religion, one has to be very careful in a country like ours, where anyone can get up and put a case against you or say something against you, like poor Sarmat Kusat had to face with what was his movie, his lovely film. Oh
I'm
my
not
God.
familiar with
Tamasha.
that story.
Zindagi Tamasha. So Zindagi Tamasha was a lovely story about a guy who used to he had lovely voice and he used to recite naats. And it's Andurun Lahore Sheher ki kahani. And one day he's gone to a friend's house and I think they're either, if I'm not mistaken, they're all drinking. If I'm not sure, I can't remember now. But then they ask him, and he does this full dance. He starts dancing because that's something that he likes doing. And another kid is taking a video, and the video goes viral, and everyone goes insane about this man, and the whole mohalla goes. So the Maulvis got up. There was a sect in Lahore, and they did a fatwa against him, and the movie couldn't come out. And even though it had passed censor, it had passed everything. And when you see the movie, there's nothing. There's nothing in it where you can say that. But just because, again, one man will say it, and five people will say it, and this mob element will come out, and and he was fearing for his life for the longest time. This is Sarmat Khusad was the producer, one of the producers on Joyland also.
Okay,
Uh,
okay.
yeah. So Zindagi Tamasha, I think, is on YouTube. So if you get a chance, you should see
I
that.
will. I will.
So
And I
so
think this,
so. Yeah.
sorry, go on. Please
No,
go
I'm
on.
saying so these three shows, and they were not long, thank God. There was 8 episodes, 10 episodes, and that was the beauty of them. And again, shorter series will also help than these long, drawn out stuff that we do. Um, all had a very sort of an undertone of hatred coming from using religion in the wrong way, and they're very good. I don't want to say too much, but if you do get to see it, they're
I
very, very
will.
good. Uh,
I
and
will
really,
check it out. And I will definitely check it out. And I think um, this whole mob mentality thing has kind of happened in the West too with the cancel
yeah,
culture.
yeah.
It's kind of toning down now,
Mm,
but yeah, I mean it's similar to, probably not to that extreme than it is in that part of the world.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, this has been amazing. Thank you so much, Marina, for your time. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. Lovely talking to you, and looking forward to your drama as well as the movie that you'll direct, inshallah, in the future.
I hope. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.